And this week, refreshingly, I'm going to do a video on shares that you have shared with me. I really should do this at least once a month, and plan to. I hope you enjoy. Welcome. And this first site will take us to a mining district. This mine was supposed to have been started at the time of the Civil War. And this was shared by David Young. He tells us the Mobile Instinct channel has published an interesting piece. We have some coordinates, a very substantial build, a railway, along with all kinds of other industrial uses. And I believe that's in this area here, in Pennsylvania, if I'm correct. And just an absolute mess. Here we can see a little town, and we can see the mining next to it. And again, I don't believe in old mining stories that we're told anymore. This was supposed to have happened around the Civil War, and I just want to have a quick glance from above just to show the magnitude of this mining zone and all kinds of anomalies seeming to be canals and even these swirling kind of patterns that we often see out in the desert. And I have no doubt ruins of the old world out here, and they're being mined, and surely it must be private property. And it's one thing to look at it from the Google Earth. Again, we see sharp corners as if these were massive star forts in ruins and mined for their resources. But I think all of this is remains of the old world, not looking natural at all. And we have a link here to a video, and I'll show you that, and we can have a look at some of these buildings. Again, supposedly built in the time of the Civil War. In fact, exactly at the beginning of the Civil War. And here again, I want to show you what looks like old canals. And here we have some terraces that step down, and much of this is still buried. And you can absolutely see something seeming anything but natural. And even these waterways, completely engineered in a past time. Now many of them lie barren. But let's have a look at this video that was referenced. And when your boot's on the grounding, this is what you end up with. All kinds of brick, tunnels, and massive walls. And we can find such remains anywhere in the realm. Did you see that tree growing out of the side of the wall? And I don't believe this old railroad story, although it may have been used as a railroad at one point. But this is not some construction that was built in the Civil War. This is absolutely amazing ruins. And I think that's what the mining operations are all about. Just clearing out things like this. And nobody would want us to consider these ruins. And another example at how some of the greatest sites have yet to be discovered. Of course, the tops of the buildings are missing, but we still have the lower levels buried in the mud. And I think what we're seeing is remains of cities of past. Again, 1850, horse and buggy. Even the industrial remains in ruin don't work with the timeline we're given. And I do believe that trains and power plants, and of course all the structures, were inherited. I'll never accept that people built things like this via a horse and buggy. Just impossible, as we stress over and over. And do check out his channel. It's called Mobile Instinct. Very fascinating boots on the ground exploration here. And I salute him for this, reminding me of the ruins I explored in the middle of Utah. And this was a very exciting share. Let's have some Peruvian music. Next, we're gonna go to South America. And here Camilo shares something with us. A few amazing sights. This looks like some sanctuary, Las Lajas in Colombia. And after looking at so many ruins, I love looking at beauty that has been preserved like this, seeming to be out in the middle of nowhere and completely mind-blowing, reminding me of images we've seen of the London Bridge in times of past, covered with buildings. And perhaps both sides and the whole surrounding area looked like this. And let's just see when this baby was constructed. Unbelievable. A cathedral on a bridge. And this is the most beautiful thing I've seen all day. Look at the brick underneath the bridge here, revealing the core of this wonder. Another bridge and a walkway, and this is absolutely mind-blowing. Surely a cathedral with a ridiculous narrative. How are you building this in such an early time period, in the middle of nowhere, hauling material out here? And next we're told to look at the Palace of Justice in Lima, Peru. And here we go. Peru. Mind-blowing structure here. And when you think of Peru, you typically think of llamas and a wonderfully pleasant seeming people and anything natural. But this, unbelievable. And as if it couldn't be any more beautiful, we can see in the past that it was, seeming to have had a massive dome rising for hundreds of feet. And why do a people destroy buildings that are hard to replicate today? Always heartbreaking, but grateful to have at least seen it in a picture. And next, we have the National Palace, and again, unbelievable. Tartary Plus. Who else conceives of buildings like this? Absolutely genius in engineering and design. What is the designation of this today? I don't know. Let's have a look at her spire. Completely mind-blowing antiquitech. Some sort of gargoyles up here. And South America clearly has some beauties of the old world, and I look forward to more of these. And I thank you, Camilo. And here was a fascinating comment by Aidan Desmond, and he says, did you know that the United States Census from the year 1890 was destroyed by a fire, apparently? And here we go. The fire of 1890 does not seem to have destroyed the genealogical research, but apparently it was a cigarette or a lit match that started the fire. And some believe it might have been caused by some wood shavings in a nearby carpenter's shop. And some believe that that was the beginning of our civilization as inheritors of the realm. And this is a cool little part on giants. And here we had a fascinating story by someone telling us of their youth and the stories that his grandmother used to tell him. And she told of this fascinating account of the island of California, speaking as a matter of fact, telling her young grandson that this is a true story and that there were giants on the island of California, and the humans created a plan to destroy the giants. Very detailed. Some went up to the northern headwaters and dammed them up. Then a second group to the south also made a dam, and there was a battle. It lasted for some time, and there was one survivor who wrote about this in his diary and was eventually killed by a giant. It was said to have taken place 88 years after America was made famous. I remember this because my grandma was 88 in 1978. There's a bit more, but this was in a nutshell. This was the Battle of the Silence, and very interesting. I would love to hear any of your grandparents' stories, as wild as they may seem. And here's a share by PK Aerial Photography, Patrick Kennedy. He wanted to show us this church. There's hundreds of them similar to it all around him. I think people need to see it, and this was built in 4 years with a 300-foot tall tower, broken spires everywhere. They've removed the antiquitech, but it's the biggest church in Pittsburgh, and here he's provided some footage for us. I thank you for this, Patrick. And here we can see the plaque, and excellent. A true beauty. Right from the get-go. Looks like the original doors have been removed, and just mind-blowing. Here in Pittsburgh, all the signs of the most beautiful Gothic architecture found anywhere throughout our realm. No details spared, and just old and burnt looking. This is a beauty. Well done, Patrick. And again, he told us this was built in 4 years. And just look at Pittsburgh. Look at this dome back here. Just beautiful. 4 years to build, and in current times, in disrepair. Clearly there was more to this building in the past, stripped down to its bare bones and still glorious. Let's see what we have on the very top. And here's our top. And just amazing. Very ivory tower-esque, like in the Never-Ending Story. And what is this, copper up here? Amazing. And clearly they have removed a lot of the frills. And well done, Patrick. Do continue to share your finds with us. And here, Mystic Meadows Homestead tells me my work has been translated in several languages, including German. And here is a comment by Simon. Wants to hear our thoughts on the Cistern, an underground art gallery in Copenhagen, Denmark. And Holly has kindly procured a link for us. And here we have a little look. A laid out grid that feels like a labyrinth. We have water flowing underneath it. Just mind-blowing. Unbelievable and clearly infrastructure of the old world. Perhaps it was part of a power plant and this was simply the cooling facilities. Or who knows, something beyond power. Power is only so important and can be produced so easily as we now understand. This is probably beyond anything that we could imagine, and most certainly that the mainstream narrative would proclaim. And here, Demian Riley says gaslighting may have been hydrogen. Each light had its own hydrogen generator. Very possibly, when we see how the old world was using water in fountains and canals and super high tech, hydrogen simply a byproduct of water. And I have no doubt the old world may have been processing and utilizing hydrogen, a process that can be harnessed by forcing water to separate, which can simply be done by utilizing gravity and piping, as we see, already existing all throughout. And good thought. And now we're going to look at something in Spain. And here's a comment by Jane Doe talking about the Rio Tinto River in Spain. Wikipedia says mining here has traces back to the Tartazans and Iberians in 3000 BC, and that it was rediscovered in 1556. And we have a little linkage. Thank you, Jane. And here we can see it. Looks like an absolute mining disaster, tinting the water red. And here we go. Some ruins, and boom. And if this is from 3000 BC, pretty impressive. And it was rediscovered in 1556. And here we have some ruins again. The same thing we just looked at in Pennsylvania, and completely mind-blowing. Looks like a lot of melting has taken place here, and pretty unbelievable. Even this would be almost impossible in an early time period. And this, of course, is just ruins. It may not even have been a mine. But here the mainstream is telling us it was just discovered in the 1500s. Discovered. And this may have simply been a building now in ruins. And our present people come along and chip away and mine and do whatever they need to make a buck. Whether they know the truth or not is not certain. An excellent share, Jane. Thank you for that. And here Artemis Designs has asked us to make a video on the Garden of the Gods in Manitou, Colorado. He's convinced that the Garden of the Gods is much more than we're told. It has a giant cave system underneath. Cave of the Winds. Awesome, I didn't know that. And the Native American tribes trace their origins to this place. So this is an awesome place, and I just recently made a video segment on that. Lots of formations that look like sculptures and carvings lost to time. And thank you, Artemis Designs. I absolutely agree. I saw what looked like a sculpture of a bird. Just unbelievable. And this next part's really interesting. Do we live in a computer? Or on a computer? And Heather shares some compelling images with us. And here, Heather Cole tells us she was just exploring Instagram and found an account that we should check out. Similarities between overhead pictures of towns and comparing it to a computer. Oh, we do love these. Let's have a little look. And boom. Absolutely. This is so beautiful, and thank you for the share. And of course some of them are star forts, and we often focus on the buildings themselves, but it's the whole grid. This is absolute circuitry. This almost seems like something we'd see in the city of Ashgabat that we had recently looked at. Oh, and they're harassing me. But anyway, very beautiful pictures. Let's see if I can just grab that. Maybe not. I hate signing up for new things, but we can just have a look. And beautiful. I don't know if the author of this presentation was tying it to circuitry. I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure, because I think it's clear to anyone. And really not much more to say about this. Something I definitely believe, and I think many of us watching have come to this understanding. Mind-blowing. And here, this piece of land in a beautiful yin-yang pattern. This could open up a whole can of worms. The can of our artificial realm. And how the land itself appears to be artificially formed long ago, long before any Tartarians or any people that are spoken of in history. In the Sumerian text, they do talk about forming the land as it was a mess when they found it, we're told. And of course in the Bible, God separating the waters and of course shaping everything. But nonetheless, this is exactly what we see. The forming of not only the land, but all the grids and lines connecting them like a machine, like some sort of organic living machine. And again, thank you, Heather. And this next share is going to bring us to Texas. And here T-Wolf says, hey, have you heard of the Texas Rock Wall? An enormous 70-foot tall wall that runs 20 miles. And I have not touched on it, but here we are. I love it. It's rectangular, and it's buried, and they found a giant skull. Excellent. Surely this skull is in the basement of the Smithsonian by now, but let's have a little look at this rock wall. And I did watch a little segment on it, and here we go. A beautiful picture of this rock wall. And this is great, because the mainstream is accepting this as a wall. The work we do is seemingly being accepted by the mainstream. If they can accept this, then it's not long before accepting the melted remains, which are everywhere, which is our whole realm. There are no mountains. And here we can see our history. Here, this massive rock wall for giants. Here's their building that they're standing on, not even realizing they're standing on this giant melted building. And here we can see the mud flood, what looks like 4 to 6 feet of mud covering this past civilization. No doubt. Absolutely fascinating. And here we can see another black and white picture. Amazing. And they have a film on it. And I thank you for that, T-Wolf. Something I would love to explore. And if any of you are in the area, do check it out. And here, Intricate Piece is talking about cutting star-shaped holes into stone with vibration. And we do see such things in the old world. Holes in blocks seemingly cut with some kind of a frequency. And I didn't see it in the video, but perhaps I'll pull up a picture to show you in a minute. And here Misty Blue tells us the fascination with these smaller little towns and forgotten structures that yield the most clues, and I agree. They have not been hit as hard by the sanitizers of history. And she talks about Klamath Falls, Oregon, and the Independent Order of Odd Fellows have a lot of secrets to tell, and how and why they reset the entire nation and populace. And yes, this Independent Order of Odd Fellows, I think, were said to have built many of the brick buildings in Salt Lake even, if I'm correct. I think this order is just taking credit the way Carnegie is said to have built all these wonders in the past as a gesture of philanthropy, which I think is a complete lie. Let's have a little click. And the secret society that left a trail of human skeletons in their path. And here we go. And I apologize if that seemed a little rushed, but I am trying to hit the road. So for this week, I hope you enjoyed. Do have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And just in case you think star forts are European or even American, no. They exist everywhere. And here's just a nice little look at some of the countries that have star forts, and every single one displaying the same style, the same builder. And this might be more of a smoking gun than even Tartarian architecture. These clearly seem older than most anything we see in the realm. And just to really prove this point, let's look at one in Japan. Here is the Goryokaku Star Fort. We even have blueprints, and we're told it was designed in 1855. And absolutely mind-blowing, in complete ruins, just like all the star forts. And so mind-blowing they've built the whole city around it.